Thank you for joining for another episode of the Finance Magnets Blockchain Podcast. And today's guest is Maksim, the CEO of Santiment. Nice to see you, Maksim.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. Nice to be able to talk to some smart people from financial sector.
Thank you. So, Maksim, I want to get your take on, the wider cryptocurrency industry and, ICOs and everything based on, what you're seeing at Sentiment. But first of all, please tell us, for people that are not yet familiar about Sentiment, what you're offering, what's the project?
So our platform Santiment initially was the team around me built with the aim to provide insight into crowd sentiment, which I believe by far and still is the main driving force in crypto markets. As the team grew and we had more people around and more interested parties, it extended a little bit scope. It's the platform for data feeds or marketplace for data feeds, where crowd sentiment right now it's still prevailing, because as I say, it's driving the market, but we're open for anyone who is able to provide his data feed, or we're building ourselves also data feeds based on what we see or what we collect from blockchain. So this is basically, you see, in the future marketplace, and at the moment, it's a relatively small platform providing you with some important, or the most important, as we see, information, data feeds, insights into what is going on in crypto.
I see. Well, for anyone who's not familiar with data feeds, right? If you can explain the need for them for companies, and also the use of sentiment by traders.
Yeah. As far as I understand, two questions. One.
Two different questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the need for data feeds, and how crowd sentiment is used or should be used? Okay.
Should be used for trading.
Yeah. For data feeds, I think it's a quality of human mind. We like to have some reasoning for making the decisions. Yeah, and the most logical reasoning, you see the set of data. You maybe analyzed the past, or you see how the data fits with other pieces, and you say, okay, with some, especially in finance, with some level of security, with some level of confidence, I say, yeah, this is my call now. The Bitcoin, because of the data I see, should grow over the next 3, 6, 12 months. Now, this data is exactly the same what I mean with data feeds. And we split it into data feeds because it can be different nature. One is very interesting data feed because we are talking about crypto markets, and they are based on quite new way of how data is generated, namely blockchain. Bitcoin has his own blockchain, Ethereum is on blockchain, Waves is on blockchain, or Neo, Chinese Bitcoin, Chinese Ethereum is also like the whole, or Monero, so many different blockchains. And whenever people are interacting, even simple things like buying and selling, or the token project on top of Ethereum, the token distribution takes place. There is something going on blockchain. And it's not visible for normal human eye, or you can go to Explorer for blockchain and a huge set of data, and you don't know why to start with. You just have some pieces. Now, extracting out of it, splitting into specific data sets, and providing for you as an end user in a more understandable or visualized way. This is a data feeds. And this is I took it as an example because it's completely new set of data feeds. We did not have it in the previous economy. Like the only thing you could have when you compare, let's say, monthly reports from big companies. Yeah, this is, I don't know, our revenues or estimated revenues, expenses. Now we do have similar stuff already happening on a blockchain for every project. It's not revenue per se, because there is no revenues yet, only exchanges do revenues. But there is something going on with the token velocity, how many new holders are created, how many of long-term holders are suddenly switching their holding. This is all what we understand at the data feeds. Yeah? Different set of data delivered to you in a more easily comprehensible way. Now,
so can I just
yeah, sorry,
try to summarize for somebody who's new to say crypto investing,
yeah,
but is familiar with stocks? So it's basically like looking at the ratio of long to short trades, or
yeah, good comparison, exactly. Yeah, like you can say so. Yeah, long to short trades. Yeah, yeah.
because there's also there's sometimes when people talk about sentiment, there's like all these AI tools who go over Twitter and see if people are positive on on Nike, right, or they're more negative, right, in their tweets, and then
Yeah.
based on all of that, they're trying to say, okay, you should buy the stock in the next 6 months.
And this is
So
a very nice mental bridge you brought into place. Interesting German because Eselbrücke. It's a kind of bridge, but for I don't know how to English name for this animal. Because we are now can really directly jump into second part of the question, crowd sentiment, how you can use it. And in order to understand how to use it, one need to understand how the market is working, crypto market is working. It's highly volatile. Well, I think you know, but maybe your readers or listeners don't know it yet. It's like for crypto market, 10% a day, it's like it's a normal day.
yeah.
Like if it's 5%, it's a boring day, and 20%, wow, it's some drive. So this is a movement, and they can go like in both directions. And it did not change much even as we grew from 20 billion valuation beginning of the year to 180 or 170 this year. The valuation is bigger, liquidity kind of should be bigger, but volatility is still there. Like we've been growing very, very fast, and we crashed and grow and crashed again. Now, how does it work? And in order how does it work, in your mind, you should simply realize every participant is highly exposed. And most of us, especially those who came early, know the big profits or the big returns. And now every time we are into the market, we are very emotionally involved. And when you go sleep and you wake up, it's suddenly about 10% more, yeah? Or 20% more, or 5%. There is no way around, and there is really no technique to avoid this emotional moment. We are either getting very greed, or very excited, let's say very excited when it's growing, and we're super scared and afraid when it falls down. And regardless for what you read, anyway, nothing can change. It's a human nature. We are excited, and we think that we're going closer to our final life goal when we were rising, and we are very scared and want to run away when it falls down. And because it's every one of us feels it, and we are like, as a group of people start sharing it in small communities on Twitter or on forums, it's easy to recognize specific patterns of crowd emotions, crowd sentiment. And I could share later with you pictures or one of some of my posts. It's so clear picture. It changes, evolves over the time, but it's always there are specific patterns of how people talk, how they interact, how excited they're on the top, and how super depressed, scared, and what kind of rumors they distribute on the bottom. Yeah, it two parts to recognize it or acknowledge and accept it. This is a reality. There is no way you can change it. It will always happen this way unless some fundamentally changes the market. And the second, how you deal with it. You are part of it. You cannot run away unless you are just writing articles. You do participate. If you participate, you are into this game. So how do you deal with it? We, when we talk about sentiment, we deal with it like for you with two things, like educating a little bit, and I have like community slowly growing because I don't want to be too big. Like I'm building up experts to understand how this part of things is working, and also building up a data feed. This we're coming back again, where you have raw data like flow of sentiment relevant, and we are planning to introduce like an expert opinion who able more or less to distinguish, identify, oh, okay, this is maybe where we are now. So, and this is where two things also fits. It's a kind of a data fits, and it's solely based on crowd sentiment. And there will be a third option. It should be limited in access. Yeah, you cannot tell the whole market, guys, all Bitcoin holders, we are on the top now. Well, the majority say, well, they will downvote you completely. They will not like you. And only those who will really use it, it will be the minority. And we look for this market niche who are ready to accept this reality, who are ready to pay for it. So crowd sentiment can be understood if you are strong in emotional controlling. You can use it for yourself, even though I tell for my experience it's super difficult. I'm a kind of expert and I know what's going on, but it's very difficult emotionally. And third, it a part of our data feeds, you can use it as a part of making a decision. Yeah? But you should be aware for all the time, it will never be easy. On the top, you will always be excited and you will think everything's good. And at the top, you see where we're done. Like government came, they will shut it down. So there is no way out. It's yeah, emotions are strong and they control in the mind anyway.
Yeah,
so this is about
yeah. For FX traders, we always say, if you think you have a winning strategy, program it and let it loose. Don't tweak it, because humans, we make the mistakes. We know you should buy low and sell high, but we sell high and we buy high and we sell low because that's the psychology. But by the way, what do you think about regarding liquidity? You think it makes it an easier market to predict based on sentiment, or harder to predict than, let's say, some market with like a Nasdaq level of liquidity, right? So you don't need to worry about such things as small market makers changing the sentiment.
I think well, I remember there was a time in Nasdaq and S&P, Dow Jones, where sentiment-based predictions were quite good. So on the biggest difference in the crypto market, because it's less liquid, it moves faster, and its emotions are more exposed because of these changes 10-20% a day. It's easier to make calls often, like you can do it almost every week. In the Nasdaq or S&P, it's more liquid, more heavy. It covers like the whole American or European or Japan economic. It doesn't move so fast. It's like it goes from one wave to the excitement to the bottom, like, I don't know, many years. The last bottom we have 2007. And we're still walking our way to the top, like 10 years. So how many calls? Like 3? So here it's a much more fresh and open environment with considerably, levels of magnitude less liquidity, and you can do calls and trades more often based on sentiment. It will change over time. In 10 years, it will not be this case anymore. This is where also traditional technical analysis or normal strategies will be needed. But right now, it's just you can do it often. Well, from my experience, basically, 80% of good calls you can do based on very basic things. Trend lines, volume, like if price growing, volume growing, healthy. If price growing, volume not healthy anymore. And then crowd sentiment. That's all. It's like, I don't use anything else. Like nothing from technical analysis, which is used to be a kind of familiar or useful in typical forex or stock changes or stock trading. Crypto doesn't work because it's so fast and so wild. You need very basic, like rough things, which really makes us approximate idea. Okay, this is what's going on, and that's all. And you need to be able to take risk in.
I see. And by the way, let's drill down to see, what do you think, or what you're seeing right now, the sentiment about the market itself, because like we talked about, Bitcoin reached around 5,000.
Yes.
The highest level. It's now, ever since the Chinese ICO ban, it expanded into an exchange ban. It it fell up to, I saw the lowest I saw it. It's like 3,000, around $3,000 in RMB equivalent.
Yes.
Right now it's back to around 4,000.
4,000, yeah.
So what do you think? What are you seeing regarding the sentiment right now?
Well, you can see it also from the price. It's very mixed. Like we have really two strong fighting forces now. On one side, it's coming and it will not be stopped anymore. Regulation from government all over the world. It's like pushes us down. Not because of regulation itself, but because the velocity or people willing to take risks like increasing. They're just awaiting what will happen next. It's one thing. It's like pushes down. On the other side, there are still enough factors which are like trying to push it up, usage. It's growing. Yeah, Bitcoin. You read stories in Japan is like accepted, or like in the countries where money is not working anymore. Like I don't know, what is it? South America, not Ecuador, but
Venezuela.
Exactly, Venezuela. Like the people, well, they're forced to do it somehow. Or government fighting against them or expropriating.
I don't know how real that is. I'm reading that.
Okay.
I don't know. I just personally, I see people are speaking about it, but I don't see any, concrete evidence of that. So
we should go maybe to Venezuela and see. Well, but that's dangerous. Anyway, there are enough things to assume the usage of cryptocurrency kind of growing. It's not yet on the level where, like, I don't know, like I really can participate in my daily activities on crypto for it and spend crypto for it everywhere. While we are far away from it, but it's growing. Yeah, so it's like two forces are fighting, and the key question now is which one will take over for some time. Like long term, I'm not concerned so much about, like, let's say 5 years. It's difficult to find. Or let's say other way around. It's so natural level of evolution in how we work or how capitalism has to be involved. Like it's like, for me, crypto is nothing else like ultimate level of capitalism where really very strong competition, anything can be built very fast, and the value can be transparently distributed between those who built it. And like you cannot stop it anymore. Like it's a very like ultimate level of how capitalism should work. And it will find its way through. So the question is 3 years, 5 years, I don't know when, or no one knows how fast it will develop. So ultimately, crypto will take its place. But the question, will be Bitcoin, will it be Ethereum? This question is still open. Like no one knows. So Bitcoin has
and which Bitcoin will it be? Right?
Yeah,
Could
exactly.
be Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, whatever we get in November.
This is exactly another question. Like we have, and Ethereum itself is a great visionary product, but it has so many like hidden problems in it, which crowd is not talking about because they're hyped and they want the 300 to become like 1,000 and a half. But there are a lot of problems. Even though I love Ethereum and many people I know from community, we know each other, like we're pushing these things. Wow, there are a lot of problems inside. So, and now the governments are coming, and they try to regulate it. Will we be able to run ICO as we did before? No one really knows. And I really actually doubt it will be possible and do it in the shape how we did before, because the rush comes. No one can refuse it. There is no proof that token economy which we are building is working. There is no proof that these valuations are like, I don't know, you know the numbers, latest valuation, like 20 million collecting is like nothing. Yeah, it's crazy. 1 year ago, like 10 million was supposed to be like the highest, and about 20 is like nothing. How are you going to provide this value back? So, and this force from regulation and like accumulating problems, it's quite strong. I personally, it's not an investment advice, yeah. I need to say.
I'll put a disclaimer.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I have really not super good feeling for like, let's say, 6 to 12 months. We should come into like a deeper or more prolonged correction. From my perspective, it's yet not realized that this main driving force, ICOs, and so many new money coming in, and we pump it and we earn and we reinvest it. It will slow down. I think it will really slow down. Then.
I personally, I'm afraid it's not going to slow down. It's just going to explode because one of these big, crazy valuation ICOs, can
You mean
just
EOS or someone else?
they
Or
can
we're not
just.
supposed, or we're
I'm
not
talking.
supposed to tell any names.
No, I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of people now sitting on huge amounts of Ethereum, which can on a moment swim, can decide to sell it, or just do a so-called fat finger, as we call it in the market, right? And sell too much and just crash the market. And there's no there's so many scams right now going on in this space of ICOs that it's a market ripe for troubles. And like you said, we're already seeing regulators starting to put extreme amount of attention on this field. The Chinese, only yesterday, the Americans, the SEC announced they're setting up a special task force. They call it the cybercrime, whatever. You read the fine print. It's all anti-ICO. It's meant to tackle ICOs, and they're gonna make sure nobody does it in the U.S. unless it's under their terms. And there's the regulators here in Israel are preparing.
Similar laws.
Yeah, they didn't announce what they're going to do, but they're researching the market heavily, and they announced that they see it as a major threat to investors, because they're saying there's if somebody's running a scam in that space, there's no option right now to stop him. And the Europeans are preparing their own rules. So yeah, it is possible. That's right now. If I'm looking at the entire ecosystem of cryptocurrencies, ICOs are a major cause of concern, right? Even though if in the long term they might be, this great invention, it's gonna revolutionize venture capitalism and everything.
Yes.
Right now, there's still a lot of areas to flesh out.
That's yeah, you summarized it very nicely. Yeah. On the other side, we grew too fast and too far. There is a saying: if you grow too fast and too far, you need to correct. And the correction we have like last, I don't know how long do we have it? Maximum 1 month. I think it was less. I think it feels like 1 week, but I know it's longer in crypto. Time is flying. I think we have 1 month, and the growth was like 6 months. Sometimes, yeah, could be correction so short, but I remember the last one which we had in Ethereum. It was June till December. It was half a year. It could be shorter. Yeah, it could be shorter, like maybe 3 months. But yeah, I would expect more action on the downside. I would expect more action on the side. But long term, it's just a question how good you are informed in the crypto and partially diversified between major non-scam projects that you benefit from this exposure. Yeah. Long term, I think it's very good. It's very good. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I keep thinking.
Yep.
I was reading.
And by the way, can you tell us about your own ICO experience? You raised about 11 million, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 12
in
million.
Ethereum.
Yeah, it was around 12 million.
$12 million.
It was interesting approach from our side, partially based on my yoga background. I do tend to care maybe a bit too much about community, and people are trying to see how to give them something properly designed. And also, I need to also, you're not allowed to wait too long in a crypto. So like it was very intensive time, 4 weeks before crisis. Wow, very little sleep. So we did something which was at the time when we did it was not known before, like few levels of whitelisting. Right? We knew the community, which was with us, I don't know, half a year already, like grew up slowly. And we want them to make sure that they are in. Yeah, it was already a time where sometimes you couldn't get in. So we built a very specially designed even smart contract on Ethereum, one of the usages, where you could enter your, well, separately kind of email account or Slack account and Ethereum address. You specify how much you want minimum and the maximum. Yeah, but like we ran it, and it was more effort than normally done, but we want to make sure that it's kind of fair for community. Once, and then we, and once we saw how much community was ready, we were already, wow, surprised. It was almost the whole cap we wanted to do, almost. And then we had our partners co-founded from Slovenia, as it's like part of economy. They were, I think, that time exactly like separated in a separate business, because like we have as a partnership with both of them, mostly on business level, like they want the data and they do fund management, and they can provide us some data too. So we wanted to, for their community, also to provide access. So we did a second tier of whitelisting now for their community. We did not have, unfortunately, this was what I would like, I would have improved next time if I had to do it. Like we did not provide specific amount for every participant, so it was a little bit like fight once the time for them came, and it was over like in 1 minute or 2 minutes. Whatever was left from our whitelisting was like distributed immediately on their level. Yeah, the process took longer time for us than I think for most of current teams, and we did not invite or did not give any special rates for whales, because the community was quite big enough to cover everything. So it was also a special experience. And yeah, the general response, even now, long time, there is no like a real pump in our Sun token, because we are still like redesigning quite big portion of our product. Still, we don't have any complaints from, well, no big complaints from community, because we did it very fair and like try to achieve what they wanted from the very beginning, like always going into their needs, not going for extra crazy valuations, like trying to limit us as much as possible. So from my experience, this might be not so obvious, but when you try to balance this possibility to raise much, because there is a possibility to raise much if you do smart marketing and you know how to do it. It's possible to pump your valuation very high, and you try to keep it controlled, and you to provide as a community real benefits. Those who are early enough, you can give them more access to distribution, or you maybe can give some small benefits. This is what I see now in more and more projects they're doing. It's really which community likes, and now once it's established, it really has very nice side effects, like coins are pumped more easily, like you have very nice side effect. So this balancing of not to do too much valuation and give value of community who is long with you, it gives very nice results. They are anyway long-term believers, and they know how to communicate your vision, and they will let you distribute your vision in the bigger circles. Yeah,
and hopefully they'll become the clients as well.
Yeah, they are de facto already clients. Like I do provide, or as a team, we do provide value when we communicate. We'll do from time to time nice call here and there, like with Omis Go from the very beginning. When once we realized, oh, interesting product, and it seems to be depressed sentiment there. I say that, guys, this is a better buy than, let's say, status network token, even though status are our friends, but I had to make clear, well, this is overhyped and too big valuation, and this is a kind of depressed, even though it's a perfect project with Vitalik as an advisor. So when it grew like 25 times, and then close to the top, when it reached, start warning, guys, need to consider to exiting. It become too overhyped. Yeah, it cannot be like sustained over long term. The same for Neo or Anxious. Once it reach a high level, so we do provide value in the kind of customers, but not maybe in a customer in a way like where they use really platform and some value is created or some tokens are paid.
And do you have a like a geographic distribution of your clients? Do you know like how many are from, or not your clients, your community? Do you know how many are from, let's say, China?
Difficult to say. We do have a separate group which we tried to establish, but it was like it slowed down dramatically after all these new things from Chinese. Around 10% maybe, not more. We didn't do any promotion in China. It just came by itself. I don't know where they came, and we established a separate communication channel because we have some Chinese-speaking people in the team. Yeah, at the moment, like 10, maybe 20%. No, not 20, 10%, I think. No, only 10%. Yeah.
It's interesting because I'm trying to realize, how much of an effect the Chinese ban will have, because definitely they're gonna hurt people, like the entry of new people, especially if they won't find exchanges to to buy Ethereum, but how much, because the established community there was affected by this, because after all, the one of the benefits of a blockchain is it's you can't block the transfers.
Yes.
So people can if they'll expose themselves to the to the news, usually through these the Chinese groups, they can take part, right? Even though if it's illegal. So I'm interested to know what's the situation right now.
Yeah, and well, actually, it was a luck for us, I think, because we did not do any marketing in China, so we're not exposed to this problem. But I do agree with you somehow. I saw a few spikes in volume, and I could relate them to discovery of us from Chinese traders or, let's say, participants. And even though, as I say, it's very small scale, like it's quite impressive here. So once you really find a channel to go out there and find a way to engage into what you're doing, yeah, it's tremendous. Well, they by nature kind of gamblers, and crypto market knows nothing else but gambling. So yeah, actually, no wonder the government tries to stop it, because they know they know their people very nice.
Yeah,
And
they have not just the gambling side. They also have a huge problem with online scams right now. And people are marketing. Sometimes you can see people are marketing, let's say certain coins or certain ICOs in the same way that somebody's pushing some MLM.
Yes.
Pyramid scam, and it's
yeah.
So that's a problem. That's a lot of these things. People are attracting bad attention.
Yeah.
But, so what I see we're nearing the end of our call. So what advice would you give a
newcomer,
a trader, a starting trader?
Yeah.
Right now, let's say we already agreed on don't trade if you want to sleep good at night. Don't trade cryptos, or don't hold cryptos more than overnight, because you'll wake up with
No. Wait. It's don't be overexposed. It's okay to be to hold it. So two basic things everyone has to decide. On one side, there is always cash. Yeah. Well, we have like kind of crypto cash, is this USD Theta. doesn't matter. You have to keep in mind there is a cash old world and there is a crypto new world, and there is constant fight between it. You can relatively easily and relatively fast to realize the sentiment in it. Like just read the crypto news. I don't know, CoinDesk or Cointelegraph, or once you're in a space, you will realize if we are
Finance Bank, that's the best.
yeah, you always need to you always need to balance between those parts. Once it's overexcited and hyped, like we are conquering the whole world, where's the future, decrease your exposure, go back to cash, be it crypto or normal, and take care about taxes. Once it's a really depressed sentiment, like every time the government comes and the bad news are spreading, sometimes it's just rumors, and everyone is scared, and you see it, you can increase again your exposure to crypto. So this is the basic two things. It's one thing, the basic two sides you need to take care. Now, if we go deeper into crypto itself, well, it has like great distribution between tokens. Bitcoin has to be part of every portfolio. Like there is no doubt in it. Don't believe anyone that Bitcoin dead. Like it was dead, I don't know how many times. It will be the last one who will die. And Ethereum, for the moment, it's still quite fine. But look around. What will happen around DEFCON 3? I think there we will realize, is it really moving forward to become the smart contract platform, or we have some conflicts coming up? And Bitcoin, Ethereum part of your portfolio, or if you're for security, maybe I know Monero or Zcash. And then there is a huge set of token economies or token assets. I will not mention anyone because it's just not possible not to attack others. Never,
Dogecoin.
the Dogecoin, it's the best. Never ever put into any token which you don't understand what they're doing, because it will mean you will make a decision from what you read or what you feel, and it will be most likely a bad decision. Try to understand what is team doing, try to be part of community to realize what is their dynamic, how they're moving, where they're now, is it they're in early adoption, or they have built up and running product, is their community growing, is it depressed, or they're excited. Really become part of community of these small tokens and see what's going on. Then you will be able to make much better decision, and you will be able to assign also reliable or reasonable part of your portfolio to it. Unless you are into this token or even participate in ICO. Some ICOs from investor perspective are perfect. They are designed to make those who come early enough to earn quite reasonable amount of money. But you need to understand dynamic or rules of crypto markets. They are not so transparent and easy if you're just coming to it. Bitcoin, Ethereum, it will be your first exposure, and combine it with cash and see where the crypto market, and then dig deeper and look for projects which are kind of connecting to your heart or to your soul or whatever. And then you can increase exposure there too. And never follow the crowd or shouting in forums. It will be most likely close to the top. You will buy high, sell low.
So do your due diligence and buy when there's blood on the streets, as Warren Buffett says.
This is it's like a one-liner, but try to understand what it means in crypto. How this blood on the streets looks like. There is no real blood. It's just everyone running around and scared.
You can see the tweets, they're all turning into the suicide hotline numbers.
This is the ultimate bottom. Once we're there, it will be good. But there are like smaller bottoms too.
Great. Okay, so thank you very much, Maksim. I think we help our audience learn a lot. And just last thing, so can you tell us about how is Santiment going along? You've said there's in 3 months there's going to be a big announcement.
Yeah. It's like we will start with announcement maybe like in not so big, but few announcements like in a few weeks, because we prepare on one interesting part of our product, and when it starts rolling, we'll like will be hopefully deliver in the next 2 or 3 months, something big there.
Great. Okay, so thank you again, and thank you all for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe so you can keep following us for more interviews from the blockchain industry space. Thank you.
Thank you for talk.